Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ben's Almanac. I'm Mac, and this is the second devlog. As a reminder, the devlogs are a series explaining and showcasing how the channel will be built as it happens, and this is where you can watch a channel get built before it's actually launched. Now let's jump into what happened this week. So the last update focused on the broader purpose of this channel, which is documenting how AI and human workflows integrate into a real business context. So instead of just saying the word AI, exactly what it is people are using, calling, or integrating, and where it is they put those things, and then how far they can trust them before it breaks down. That's the purpose of this channel, to give you a living demonstration of that process. So the idea isn't just to build tools, but to demonstrate them, how structured iteration, transparency, and design thinking can coexist in day-to-day development or fall apart catastrophically as the build progresses. You'll find out alongside me. For week 2, the focus narrowed to the fundamentals, so getting the presentation builder project properly structured and ensuring the early scaffolding is solid enough to scale. So the goal wasn't to ship features or code up anything, but it was to create the conditions that would make the features easier to build later and not create gigantic headaches down the line. So a preliminary design document was created to outline how the presentation builder will operate. It captures the user flow interface expectations and how AI-assisted slide generation will be layered over manual control. Think of it as the project's blueprint before a single line of code is written, to make sure that I'm not making it up as I go along or adding features that don't need to exist mid-coding for those projects. Those will become later phases if they persist as good ideas. And in this covering, we employed a new LLM-enabled use case. So basically, we just took a chatbot, and instead of explaining to it what we were trying to do and what we wanted to accomplish in having it do the design document, which is the normal workflow, we went looking for anything we might have missed in the initial planning stages of what I thought this would look like. And so I prompted it with just the bare bones of what was going on, and then asked it to interview me on the project. This showcased places where I had been either framing it poorly or not considering the audience or the build itself. And instead of having it conform to what I already expected to want, it created a bit more friction to figure out exactly where there are weak points in the project plan. So I was pretty excited about that. It was a fun little Reddit idea that ended up panning out surprisingly well. With the design in place, attention shifted to infrastructure. So a dedicated GitHub repository was established to hold the project files, documentation, and iteration history. It's the first stable home for the presentation builder, and it's pretty minimal right now, but it's ready to grow. For anyone watching who is unfamiliar with GitHub, it is most similar to an online file storage system. That's like the veneer, that's like the surface level of what it looks like. So you can take a bunch of text files or documents and store it into GitHub Repo. But what makes it really famous is that Git is a manner of changing documents and version controlling them. So you basically make little copies of some repository, some folder, right? And you pull it into your own workspace, make changes, and then you try to integrate it with the broader project. And it allows for really complex builds with a lot of people and a lot of moving parts, and a way that lets you faithfully version back if anything breaks. So like if something catastrophically goes wrong, you can roll back what you did by looking at the last previous version where something went well. So it's industry standard on doing any kind of software project, even smaller projects like mine. It's really useful on because its version controls are second to none. And after the initial skeleton was created, a quick best practices review led to several small but I think important improvements. The structure now includes a clear source file, the SRC folder there, directory for active code, supporting folders for design assets, and better separation between experimental and production material, because there will be a lot of runs and a lot of instances, and it can get very confusing very fast if I don't have a very good folder structure for it. And for the source files, these are basically used when you have a project where it could be integrating in other places, and it's useful to have these recurring little snippets of things that do things across projects. So in this case, we have 3 major modules that will get built. That's like the name for like a package piece of software that's doing something in a larger project. And here we have the presentation builder, the script generation for that, and the AI voice overlay, which is what will get us to having an actual Delta who can present the documents to us once we're actually at that point. So some early lessons actually emerged even like this early in the process. So first, local Git management is like essential to doing this well, properly, and easily. Complex layouts just don't behave predictably through the web interface alone. And what that means, if you're not familiar with those terms or GitHub in general, is that if you want to use GitHub as a basic like cloud storage, like a Google Drive or something like that, you can, but it's not particularly well suited for that. But what Git is really good for is you can write these local commands on your computer using on Mac what's called the terminal, and it allows you to navigate or change file structures really easily, which just makes the whole process way simpler. Which I've known about for a while, but they've been putting off because it's like a new skill to learn that takes time to actually integrate. And if you're not doing major like software building or even sufficiently large minor software building, it might not be worth it, but I'm now getting to the point where it's becoming essential. Second, I would say the AI interviewer tools were like surprisingly useful and played a pretty strong role in shaping design reasoning. I didn't have a lot of confidence in the idea coming as it did from Reddit, which is not always a place where you get super like high value content or ideas, but it helped quite a bit clarify decisions through structured questioning and having an idea of what was going on, or just coming at it from a different angle than I expected. And this contracts some early work with a simpler project like the narrative builder, where the lessons and design decisions often took place after the structure was placed and mid-coding. So it created some confusion during development and caused me to have to refactor some code and kind of forget where I was in the broader build, even though that wasn't a large project. So there it wasn't a big deal, but here it felt helpful to really nail down exactly what it is I'm looking for towards the output and exactly when human feedback will come into that, which will be 3 points. We can go over that at a later devlog while coding takes place. There'll be a few weeks where going over the design decisions, I think, will be a solid use of time rather than just showing people code that's getting scripted up. And finally, next week's update will focus on the narrative builder test repository. That's where the first environment setup and early code integration will take place. And it's a smaller visual update, but a major internal milestone to have something. So basically, because I'm going directly into script writing, now that there's a like repo and architectural design, there will be kind of a blank period where I'm not going to have a lot to visually showcase. And so I thought it'd be a better use of time to start with something that's already completed, push that to public repository space, and then just showcase what I did and like what takeaways are going to be coming from that. I was pretty excited just to have anything there, even though I didn't actually like the chapter polish. Having like a working end-to-end, I have a prompt, I have a bunch of the context, I can make a chapter from it, was pretty fun, and I think it'll be a useful demonstration. Oh, one minor thing as well, this box you're seeing here, I'm now looking as though I can see the slides from my perspective. When the actual video released last week, I realized that wasn't how it looked, and it looked like I was staring off into the distance, even though from my perspective it was dead on. So I'm pretty excited to have a small win on the video editing and OBS front, because this is something I have next to no experience with. So even small improvements, especially ones that are recurring on making decent videos just like quickly, is pretty fun and exciting. But yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for checking out this video, and I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.